Okay, and we are back with another interesting video. This one we're going to be discussing the Chaos Arcana. It's been a hot topic in the league, whether to include or disallow or partially allow, and it's been tricky settling some of these debates. With me tonight is Arcanus. Arcanus, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I think we have a couple of really good matches here between Apu, who's orange and on the left, and Norin, who is on the right using the Rule Robe. They've already gone underway, and what do you think about what you've seen so far?
I really like watching Chaos Arcana battles just because they're just so much more in terms of like the theatrics of the Arcana themselves. I mean, you have Apu using Distortion Beam, which is just a better Aqua Beam that you get to. His Piercing Void, which is basically like, throwing out like that Gale Wind Force, but way wider and, and takes up more area. And on the right, we got Norin using the Dragonfall, which is a way cooler meteor, and the Null Parade, which is like an enhanced version of Binary Splashdown without the movement. You know what I mean? It's a projectile that explodes into smaller projectiles without the jump. So you don't have to commit to that area, and you're shutting an entire area down. So that's actually one of my personal favorites.
Right. The main goal of some of these matches that these guys, were gracious enough to carry out for us is to sort of see if they are usable versus their standard counterparts. Rez Protocol, the league player, he started to put together a tier list on some of these chaos elements, Chaos Arcana, to see which ones could be viable, which ones do stand a chance, or which ones don't overpower too much. And I think what we've settled on is that this Portal Dash is probably never going to be allowed. It is super fast. You can't hit him while he's disappearing. It's a great animation. It's fun to use. You have an unlimited amount of that dash, but I'm not sure that you can combat it.
No, and it kind of just like null and voids any of your attacks, and you have an infinite cooldown, just constantly moving. You can just kind of just jump through whatever, and there's really no drawbacks to it. So I would say that this is definitely going to make it to a banned list as just broken.
And when you brought up the Distortion Beam and compared it to Aqua Beam, it might not be a direct comparison, because obviously you can't use it, you can't maneuver it, you can only drop it, have it come out. It is kind of telegraphed pretty well. It's not instantaneous. It does show an animation before it comes out, before the charge comes out. You get two of them. And they're very wide. I mean, they can be used to shut down areas pretty well. And you compared those falling swords, the piercing void, to the Gale Force alignment. I would probably put that the Distortion Beam closer to Gale Force alignment.
Okay.
I would put that up there. I think that the Piercing Void is probably closer related to maybe the Twin Turbines.
Okay.
With how
I can see that.
Shuts down an area. The basic that Apu is using, that is the Chaos Crusher. Now I think the basics are where you might. Yeah, see, he's using it right there. You've got a huge,
which is literally
enemy.
it's just magnetic follow-up, but without using it.
That's right. Yeah, and it's got huge distance. I can't see how much damage it's been doing. I'm going to pay attention a little bit closer now to how much damage this thing is doing. But I think that if you can ultimately combo continue to combo with that, it's going to be an issue. The Reaper, the Chaos Reaper that he's using.
Yeah, that's not so much. That's kind of like Obsidian Crusher, but quicker.
It's got such a long range. It's a lot quicker than Obsidian Crusher. Obsidian Crusher is unusable.
Yeah.
This thing is actually doing some damage. There's 11 or 22 points of damage when you're hitting. And you can see that
That was that Mark of Discord Norin just used at the end of that.
Right.
He hits him with that little spear, and then if he hits him with it, it just kind of does like that little portal around him and does some AoE damage on him.
Yeah, and I think that it's so easy to land because it's hard to dodge that.
Yeah, no, it's super quick.
It's super quick. It's very hard to dodge it, and I'm fairly sure that you can't block it.
No.
You're not going to block out a firewall or perhaps a stalwart defender. I mean, you might be able to block.
Well,
I'd
be interested in seeing what actually melts these projectiles, because I think you may be right. I don't know if any element kind of beats out Chaos in terms of negating it completely, like just shooting it out of the sky.
Right. I think that, and that's the main concern with allowing these to be played versus standard builds. I can see a rule set or a subset that allows for maybe one Chaos Arcana to be used.
In like a standard or a signature slot, maybe.
In a standard,
I think we should stay away from the dash. That dash is just nothing but trouble.
Yeah, I think the dash is trouble, and hopefully we can see some of these summons, these brigades, the squadron or brigades. I mean, they're completely unbeatable. I mean, right off the bat, any one of those mages or lancers, they're going to be.
They're essentially the best seekers in the game.
They're the best seekers in the game. They do a ton of damage, and you're just ending matches way too quickly. So right now, I think Norin is going to start loading up some standard Arcana. He's playing with his
settings there, yeah. Oh, that's a weird one. What is that? Oh, that's
So here they go. They've loaded up a signature Tearing Whirlwind versus a standard Turbine.
Yeah. Apu swapped out for Arcane Intervention.
Okay.
It's weird. It's kind of like... It's almost like... Not an Ion Spike. It's that Surge Spike.
Yes, the Surge Anchor.
Catch the guy... Yeah, it's like Surge Anchor, but if you catch him in it, he'll teleport to the point where it's anchored out and do some damage with it. It doesn't look very effective. So that's kind of like probably trashed here, Chaos.
Yeah, and I think that might have decided it. And that's the issue, because he's got basically a Tearing Whirlwind and a trash tier Chaos versus Norin's Chaos Reaper, which is super strong, and the Mark of Discord. And he lost that like instantaneously. It wasn't even close.
He's got a really quick projectile along with easily one of the best zoning Arcanas in the game.
And we went from seeing Apu dominating some of the matches when they were equal with Chaos, now going to almost like a handicap where he's got two garbage slots. Well, not garbage. Tearing Whirlwind's okay, but in terms of versus what Norin's got, he's at a disadvantage here, and it's looking like that now is having the Arcana do the work for him. The Arcana is now winning the match, and that's not the type of RNG we want to see.
No. Well, it's crazy because he's using Tearing Whirlwind into easily, again, he's using Twin Turbine, so you don't want to be whirlwinding into that area. So he's either going to have to use it as just an initiator right after he uses that, or just to get away. because you don't want to be, spinning around. Because as soon as Norin sees that animation, he's going to throw that turbine out and just snare you real quick.
Right. Right. So this is the main. I think obviously what they're trying to do here is to now do half and half. They've got a half chaos build, half standard build. But again, to me, what I'm seeing is the chaos is sort of doing the spells are doing the work. I think the Norin's build way better than Apu's build.
Yeah. Yeah, for Apu to win a round with that build is just kind of like a testament to his actual
ability. I don't think they
ability.
picked anything up either. I think they were strictly just testing these builds. And now Norin is going to go standard versus chaos. And let's see if Apu's going to pick something interesting for us. What Norin's got there, that's a pretty good build. That's a pretty good build.
Yeah, that's a long-range punch and just area denial. And he has good evasive. He has a good evasive dash with that
Frostwing.
With the Frostwing.
He's got one of the best projectiles in the game, the Flame Cleaver, which destroys just about any other projectile, and he's got one of the best zoning tools with the twin turbines.
Right. So now, looks like Apu's going with Chaotic Buster, which is just a big charge-up projectile, and Null Parade, which he's just going to be shutting areas down, probably trying to force them into certain spots and throw that Chaotic Buster right at him.
Yeah, so
Apu really likes those charge-up projectiles, and he's really good at using them. I'll say as a side note.
They're not forgiving. You have to. But look at that. Norin he did a great job staying out of the way of all of those chaos attempts. Grabbed him in a snare and punished him completely and took down way more than half his health. So, let's see if he can win this match. If he can win this match, this definitely
Norin is making up with his lack of chaos spells with just hyper aggression.
That's it. And that's it. Volt Disc, Turbines, Cleaver. But the AoE that Apu's got with that splashdown right there, I mean, that's too much range. It's too big. You're shutting down too much of an area. I didn't see the damage output, but it.
I mean, but look at it. Is it broken? I mean, Norin is
the one thing
winning.
The one thing that is unfortunate is that we're looking at Norin using the Rule Robe, which gives him 10% more armor, also 10% more damage.
Right.
So it's not truly equal. But with that said, we just have to see the margin of which they're winning by. If he's winning by 10 points, then the Robe had an effect. But that last match, he dominated, so the Robe might not have had too much of an effect. He's doing what he has to do. He's staying out of the range there. Aside from there, it looked like he was only doing like single-digit hits. Single-digit damage while he was caught in that AoE.
What's interesting with that charge-up Chaotic Buster is, as he's charging it up, I think it actually shoots out projectiles that do damage. So you can just kind of hang out with that thing.
Yeah.
Just let it rip.
It takes away the weakness of any of the charge-up spells.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Turns it into a little bit of a defensive weapon as well.
Right. While you're charging up your cactus, you're sort of vulnerable. While you're charging up your knockout boulder, well, you don't have to charge out the knockout boulder, but you're holding it and you're trying to aim it. There, right there, you're trying to pick your spot, you're charging it up, and you've got protection. So it's like a 2-in-1. Yeah, the Chaotic Buster. Yeah, the Chaotic Buster is definitely big. I would also say that the Null Parade.
Yeah, Null Parade is.
And these cooldowns, look how fast he's ready. 6 seconds. Not the shortest, but not the longest. It's a decent it's ready. It's always there. The Buster, same thing, about 6 seconds.
That does a lot of damage.
The dash that Apu is using. That one, has it got a hitbox in front? No, that's not the one with the hitbox in front. I think the one that I was thinking of is the Chaotic Echoes. Yeah, that's the one. Oh no, the Phantom Division.
Yeah, I think that the Chaotic Echoes is kind of like almost like the Drill Dash.
Right.
It kind of just goes out in front, and then it
is...
just beats you up. But look at Norin. Norin's like walking away with some serious victories here with these, I mean, top tier Arcana, but,
right.
He's going up against what's supposed to be really.
He's going up against, yeah. No, I was right. Yeah, there is a forward hitbox. The one I was thinking of, the Phantom Division, is a basic, and I think that basic, if they whip that out, that one is unbeatable. That's the one that launches out those the ninjas that just wreck everything. I think that one is the basic he should be showing off. I'm sure they do, but if you take a look at Apu when he's dashing, he's got a hitbox right in front that is always available. It's never on cooldown. If you dash into him, you're right. You're getting like a melee attack. And if it's on charge, you get those 2 Chaotic Echoes that are going to come, and they're also going to do some damage.
Norin putting in work.
Yeah.
He's not afraid of no purple spells. No. But he also has that... it's funny, he has the dash. He took the Chaos Rift dash.
That's true. So
that actually, it's actually, standing testament to the fact where... this thing's broken. Like, that's how you could be outmatched with...
just a dash, yeah.
With just a dash.
I think anything that has infinite cooldown, or 0 cooldown, rather, infinite availability, I think that is just... it's going to be hard to make a case where it's fair. Mm-hmm. Part of the strategy of the game is working with your cooldowns or forcing your opponent to be on cooldown. And anything that doesn't have that cooldown sort of takes away one of the biggest strategic mechanics.
Yeah, I agree.
Defensive.
And one of the offensive, defensive strategies is to bait your opponent into using
overcommitment.
Into using these weapons, and to have something where you can't even bait it out. It's just bad news.
So it's still if we're casting votes today, I'm still casting votes for just a pure keep them on the side. But the purpose of this video is to take a look at some of these in a different light. Take a look at the distortion beam. The distortion beam is one that I believe Res Protocol was making a case for, because it had the 2 charges, the damage output wasn't so high, and the fact that you've got you've got an okay counter to it.
Yeah, not to mention the wind up with it. It kind of really it has a really what would be considered a long wind up for a beam. I mean, Aqua Beam comes right out. The only way that you know that somebody's going to shoot Aqua Beam is when they're standing still for a second. I mean, look at it. He whips it. That's it. But the Distortion Beam, he's going to, there's a wind up. He's about to shoot that thing, and it has almost the same area of effect as the Aqua Beam Enhanced does. And you can just kind of sidestep it, and then it's done. The only thing that's going to help him is that he has a second one, ready to go. But other than that, I don't really think it's something too terrible,
Right. And I think officially Apu was mentioning that Gravity Onslaught and Mortal Coil are not overpowered. Mortal Coil, he claims is difficult to land. Just overall, just not that great.
Yeah, it's just a scorpion tail. You know,
Right.
it's just as effective as the vine one. Maybe a little bit wider of an area with the arrow at the end of it, but in a game like this, if you want to thread a needle like that for very low reward, be my guest. But you wouldn't see me picking it up.
Right. The distortion beam with the 2 charges doing 50 damage or 75 damage. Overall, nothing that great. It's a little bit slower to activate than Aqua Beam. It doesn't have near the same range is the conclusion that he came to on that one. And I think that's more or less what we were seeing there. Chaos Buster, he was talking, his one hand is a little bit slower, a little bit more difficult to land than some of the other Arcanas like Raging Inferno, but it does have that that charge up protection in those
Yeah,
spikes.
I like that. If you want to stay in a static position and hold that thing down, and you're going to make a guy have to dodge around you, and then you could throw it to where he's going to move to. It's kind of like it's a 2-parter.
Right.
And that I actually really do appreciate about it.
Right. The Arcane Intervention. So he's talking about the...
Nah, that one is... That's the one with the portal. That's not...
Yeah. The Arcane
that's not
Intervention.
viable.
He said it recharges pretty quickly. It's close range to be reliably hit without having to use other Arcana. The damage when fully charged is ridiculous. He's talking about 170 damage. But on the other hand, it charges faster than any other non-signature charge projectile. You don't have to take a signature slot for it. I didn't see anything doing with it. I thought it was honestly
he caught
just
him a couple times with it, but yeah, likewise, I wasn't really too impressed with it.
not too impressed with it. But would you really pick that over a turbine? Not really. It's like, yeah,
No.
it's the right. I would still pick turbine, but
No.
they're not equally matched. It would be between turbine and not the Null Parade, but was the Mortal Coil. Yeah, or Piercing Void rather. It would be between turbine and Piercing Void. And so you can't really compare those two. But the Piercing Void and Twin Turbine, if you had the choice, you might be picking the Piercing Void.
See, I'd argue that one because Twin Turbine, if you throw it and run away from it, you actually make it bigger. So it's a more dynamic Arcana than just Piercing Void just going to throw the same thing out every time. Like, Twin Turbine, to me, is one of it's the best zoning tool in this entire game. If you know what I'm saying? Like, if you do it perfectly and throw it over somebody's shoulder, they're done. If you throw it defensively and dash away from it, you're closing down entire areas of the map.
Right. I still see.
Piercing Void just really quick. Like if you send that thing down, it covers a big area, and it doesn't have the drawback to having to throw out that initial initial projectile that actually actuates the electric field.
That's right.
They're just swords that come down. That's it.
That's right. Yes, you're right. Oh wow, that was a double. It blasted that one.
Nice.
The one thing that you run into an issue with is if these Chaos Arcana are that much better than their standard cousins, everyone would naturally gravitate towards them, just making it just big purple blobs all over the place, and then you can't even see with some of these animation sizes, and then just overall ruining the fun of it. But I think on the table right now would be, I think from what we're seeing, I think we would have to look at Piercing Void. I think Piercing Void has a chance. We're going to have to do some damage, look at the damage output on it, make sure it's okay. I think all the dashes are going to be off the table. I think the dashes are way too overpowered versus the standard dashes. I think the basics also, unless the Chaos Reaper, maybe we can allow the Chaos Reaper, but I don't think so. I think it's too fast. But maybe the Chaos Reaper. What do you think about that one?
That one, like I said, I think that's just like the Obsidian Crusher, and I feel like basic Arcana, for the most part, aside from the one that Apu's using, where it's basically a magnetic follow-up and just quick projectile. I know it does low damage, but I don't know. I'm not really too crazy about it in terms of, somebody using that against me and hitting me from across the map. The Reaper is just high damage right up close, and I feel like if you let somebody get that close to you in this game,
you're going to lose to any of the basics.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what basic that guy's using. He's hitting you.
Yeah, I agree. The Dragon Fall, it's like, how likely is someone to pick that, being that no one's picking Shark or Meteor, loading that?
Yeah. It would just have to be one of those, stun lock, big punish kind of builds that you're looking to build, to set up something like that. But
any of the Phantoms, I think the Phantoms have got to be off the table without a doubt.
Out. They're out. Anything
Quantum
that could come
Edge,
after you
maybe.
mindlessly.
Maybe
Quantum Edge. I like. Quantum Edge I like. I would campaign for Quantum Edge to be in just so I could use it. That's definitely one of my favorites. I'm surprised that they didn't even try to use it once.
Right, yeah.
That's a good one.
They don't home, but you can't block them. So if a cleaver can't break it, then chances are there's no natural block for it. So they haven't tested Quantum Edge. We'll have to check that out. The Word of Chaos, I mean, no one's loading that up.
Yeah, nobody's using agents, really.
Right. The agents. So I think it's it's coming down to whether or not we can take a look at Arcana like Distortion Beam, maybe Gravity Onslaught, and the other one we were looking at, which is the Piercing Void. Piercing Void, Gravity Onslaught, and Distortion Beam. What about the Mortal Coil and the Mortal Coil? I don't think. He was saying that
if you want to use that one, go for it. Go nuts. That doesn't, that doesn't do anything for me personally.
Yeah, those right there would be the ones that we could say, okay, let's take a closer look at these guys and see if we can include them. But but that wraps up the experiment that Norin and Apu had done for us, as well as settles a lot of the questions, or answers some questions, or settles some debates that were raised by Res Protocol in the Discord over this past week. So we'd like to hear what you guys think in the comments below. I hope that there's some eye-opening new debates that spur from this. And I'd like to thank Arcanus for joining me tonight.
Yes, and I'd like to thank Apu and Norin for recording these matches and putting on a really good show for us, and I think a very successful experiment for now.
Yeah, I think so. I think we got a lot out of this. So for anyone else out there who wants to continue this discussion, pop into the Discord. Talk about it freely in the comments on YouTube. Send DMs on Reddit. Comment on Reddit. Find us on Instagram. We're around, and if you guys ever want to play, step into the arena. We'll see you next time.